Welcome to a review of DesignCAD, drawing an end table. So we're going to begin by double-clicking on the shortcut of DesignCAD, and this will open up the program DesignCAD. We have some previous things that we have drawn, however we want to start fresh. Before we click Create a new drawing, we can change our drawing units and go down and change our drawing units to inches. Press OK, and now you can go ahead and create a new drawing. When this pops up, you will have a little ruler on the top and the left-hand side with inches. Now, we have also a toolbar on top and a toolbar on the left. If we right-click on the top, we can get different toolbars. We can get so many toolbars that it kind of fills up our space pretty quick. So we want to make sure we don't do that. Let's get rid of those toolbars. We only want the ones that we need, otherwise we can't have any more space for drawing. So there we go. So just when you right click, these are the ones that you should have selected. We don't even need this color one, but I don't think it takes up a whole bunch of space. But these are the ones you should have selected when you right click in this upper area. Now, DesignCAD has a whole bunch of drop-down menus. We'll learn about these later on, or review them. And then, of course, this is this toolbar here that we're going to use, and here. All your drawing tools are mainly on the left-hand side. And on the top, we have your new drawings, open, existing drawings, save, print, some zoom tools. We generally don't use a whole bunch of these. We do use refresh quite a bit. This should be on two-dimensional mode. And again, all of these should be not selected at this point. So if any of these are selected, deselect them. Underneath these tools on the left-hand side, we have, first of all, your cursor. This is the one we normally select. And your views, your zoom views, your lines. You can see if I hold down any of these, there's a whole bunch of options. Your arc drawing tools, circle drawing tools, planes and polygons, dimensioning tools. You can see we can dimension lines, arcs, circles, curves. You have text tools, so if we hold this down, we can have your different text tools, depending on what we're going to put text on. Oh, selected one accidentally. And we have your trim tools. Nothing selected here because we haven't drawn anything to trim, but this is very, very handy. We use a lot of these. We don't use this array that much. Hatch. Line style, we use that sometimes, and color. And there's some snap tools here. We're going to talk about those later. On the opposite side, we have this right here. This is our zoom tools, and those are very, very handy. So let's go over here to the left-hand side and select the second one here, which is called the ortho line tool. This is selected. You can see that the crosshair shows up, and sometimes when you select it this way, by just clicking on it, it indents. So it shows us that we have it selected. We're going to start by drawing an end table. Now really, we can start anywhere on the page. We don't have to start at 0 and 0. We can start anywhere. And before we go on, you should at this time take out your drawing that your teacher gave you of the end table. The end table we are drawing is about 16 inches wide by 22 inches high. So if you look at our ruler, you can see that 16 inches is only going to be about here. So when we first start, we're just going to draw a few lines here, and then we're going to zoom in. So let's begin by drawing, actually our longest line is a leg. So let's begin by going to the bottom, somewhere down here on the left-hand side, and left click. I'm going to go up. I can go up. I can go right, left, or down, but I want to go up on the y-axis and go point, relative, and this little window pops up. I want to make sure this is always on last point, and I can click on the X or the Y axis. I already said that I want to move up, so I'm on the Y axis, and I'm going to go up 22. So if I type in 22 and press enter, this line went up 22 inches. I'm going to press enter again to draw it black. So there's my line I just drew, exactly 22 inches. If I took and just tried to go like this and go until I went to 22, see, as I get closer I have 21.94, and let's go a little bit farther, and I got 22.03. Not exactly what I want. So it's nice to take and draw with point relative because it's exact, and that's what we're looking for. So there's my line, 22 inches high. I want to do one right beside it. I want to make one right beside it. So there's this tool here, ortho line drawing tool. I'm going to go back to the bottom. Oh, it's not selected. I need those crosshairs. And I want to click on this bottom corner by snapping. Now snap or gravity snap is when your cursor goes to the nearest point. So right click and it'll snap there. So if I was up here, it would snap. If I'm down here, it's going to snap to that point. Some of you are right clicking and you're finding that an option comes up. What do you want to use your right mouse click button for? Select the top option, use it for gravity snap, and that will be what you're going to use it for from now on. I want to now go the thickness of my leg to the right, so point relative. So I can go up here to point relative, or what I could do, let's get out of that, I can press the quotation marks next to my enter key, and point relative shows up. That's the quick key for point relative. Now I'm going to the right, so I'm on the x-axis. Right or left is x, up or down is y. I'm going to type in 1.5 inches. So 1 space 1/2. And to get to the next line, I can take my cursor and I can click. Oh, it has a problem. Let's press OK. So it didn't like the 1.5. What if I put in 1 space 1.5 inches? Now does it like it? Let's click on this one to find out. No, it doesn't. So what you can do is 1.5 is the same as 1.5. So let's try that one. Half an inch, if you divide 1 by 2, you get 0.5. You know that from your previous math lessons. So 1.5. And now let's see if it likes that one. Yep, it does. Y is 0. And press OK. So you can see I went 1.5 inches. And I want you to press enter on this one. Oh, no, don't press enter. Let's keep that one green. Now, if I take my cursor up and I get close to this point, if I right click, it will line those points up and I don't have to put in anything. If you don't want to use that method, what you could do is go point relative. Again, that's beside the enter key. And 0 on the X. And I can type in 22 on the Y. And that'll take me back to the top as well. And then move over to the left and right click. As long as I'm closer to that point than any other point, it will snap to that. Right click. Enter. There's my first leg of my end table. I'm going to go over here and go fit to screen because I really like to see this a little bit better. There we go. And let's zoom out 2 times. So click the zoom out tool twice. 1, 2. 1, 2. And scroll this over to the left and down a bit. So I'm just using my scroll on my mouse, or I could use this. It does the same thing. Okay, so that's exactly what I want, one leg. Now I'm going to start with my top. My top is 16.25 inches long or wide and 3/4 of an inch thick with an overhang of 1.25. So let's start by going 1.25 to the left from this point. So I'm going to snap to this point, point relative, quotations next to the enter key. Now because I'm going left, I have to put a negative in front of my number, and I want to go 1.25 inches. Now it doesn't like those fractions, but we do know that 1 divided by 4 is 0.25. So it's 1.25. And it's negative. And I have to have 0 in the y-axis. If I have 22, it's going to go 22. It takes the bigger number. There we go. And I want to go up. So don't press enter again. See how my line is green? Don't press enter again. I want to go up. So point relative, 0 in the x. I'm going up. So I'm positive on the y. And it's 3/4 of an inch. So 3 divided by 4 is 0.75. Press enter. Again, do not press enter again because it'll draw it black and you'll have to go get your tool. And I want to go over to the right. Now, I don't have to move my cursor there. It knows. I can even put my cursor over here. It always is asking from the last point, where do you want to go? And I'm going to tell it I want to go 16¼ inches to the right. Point relative, 16¼ so that's 0.25. Tab takes me to the next section for dy, and I can press 0 there. Always double checking that this is the last point. Press OK, and enter. Oh, I didn't need to press enter. Oh well, not a big deal. If you've pressed enter by accident, like me, you can go over to the line drawing tools. You can simply snap on this point. See how it snapped there? And I can go point relative. Now this time I'm going down on the y, so I'm going negative. Nowhere on the x, so 0. Negative on the y, 0.75, which is 3/4 of an inch. And now I want to go negative on the x, so point relative, negative 1.25, and y is 0. So tab took me to the next line. That way I don't have to use my mouse. Enter. There we go. So I have my tabletop like that. If I took it away or took a part of it away, you can see what I've drawn. Okay, I'm going to Control Z that to get it back. Is that right? Yes, that's right. So I need another leg over here. Now, this is a pretty small drawing. Let's zoom into this one more time now that we have the outside parameters. And I don't want to go through the extra work of making this leg. So you can see this leg has different parts. See that? There's a whole bunch of different parts to it. Let's get that away from there. There's 2 different parts. So I want to make those 1. To make them 1, what I do is I select one, hold down the shift key and select the second one. When you hold down the shift key, you can select different parts and add them all together. Or you can deselect them and it turns them black. So I have the parts I want selected. Again, I selected by clicking, holding down the shift key, and selecting. That's the part I want. And I want to make this into a group. I want them to be 1. So I'm going to go up to Tools and press Group Define. So this is that shortcut for Group Define. There's my Group Define. Now, if I deselect and select, you can see everything is selected. This is critical. I'm going to Control Z that to put it back. This is critical because I want to make a copy of this. So what I can do is I know that this point needs to be over here on my copy. So if I right click on this, it'll snap to it. It's going to take and copy it from this point to this point. So we right clicked and we can go edit, copy. There's a copy somewhere. We don't know where it is, but it's somewhere. Paste is the next option, and there it is. You can see where it's holding it. It's holding in that top right corner. Now this is what we call the cardinal 3-click method, because we can pick things up and we can drop them off exactly where we want them. So when we right click, see how it snapped it to that point? So here's an example. We'll scroll back over here. Let's move this over here like that. If I want this point to this point, we use the cardinal 3-click. So this is right click again to pick it up in the air, and right click to drop it off. 3 clicks. So I'm going to put that back because I want this point over there. So right click, right click, right click. And it's exact. That's exactly where I want it. At this time I don't have anything saved. So let's save this. We're going to go File, Save As. Now this is a grade 8 folder. I'm going to make this as, we're just going to make a new drafting folder. So in the drop down menu, make sure yours is in Homes. Mine is on the desktop. And I need to make a new folder. Calling this, we'll call this Drafting Files. You can call yours grade 8, grade 9, grade 10, Industrial Arts, whichever one you're in. Maybe it's a grade 11 or 12 if you're just picking this up. So Drafting Files, I'm going to say, I'm going to double click on it, so Drafting Files is up here. And we're going to title this End Table. Press Save. Now this should say End Table at the top. Now whenever I want to save every 5 to 10 minutes, I should be just pressing this button right there. That's my save button, and it'll just save over top of your drawing. We need a line from this point over to here. So this is simple. We just take our ortho line drawing tool and snap and snap. Press enter. And there's your top and 2 legs. Next, we need to draw the support right here, the rail that goes underneath it. Now, the paralleling tool is a great tool for this. The paralleling tool, if we hold this down, is this tool right there. Okay, and if I hover my mouse cursor over the tool, it tells me it's paralleling by distance. So what distance do we want? I'll just tell you, we want to parallel 1.5 inches, so 1.5 inches. Actually, we don't need to put in the inches. It just knows because that's what we set our units to. And then we can left click on this and we can go up or down. We want to go down and left click again. Okay. Now, the rail actually goes in behind this leg a little bit. And if we look at our drawing, we can see how much. Actually, it doesn't tell you how much. We have to do a little bit of math. So if we have, okay, that tells us that it's 12 3/4 in length. And this is 10 3/4 from here to here, and we need to go 12 3/4. So that means I need another inch farther on this side, and I need another inch farther on this side. So let's zoom into that with our Fit to Window Zoom tool. Just like so, and I'm just going to go like that. That way we can really see what we're doing. There's a tool underneath your text tool called Trim Tools, and when you hold it down, there's this excellent tool. It's a line extend tool. So if you hold it down, it says extend. So this line here, I want to extend by 1 inch. So I'm going to right click to get to the end of it and extend it using point relative. So the quick key, the quotation marks. And I want to go -1 and press enter, and it extends it 1 inch. I'm going left, so it's negative. Now I want to do the same. Oh, there we go. Go to the right, right click, point relative 1 this time because I'm going to the right. Press enter. Now looking back on this, these lines actually have to be hidden. So if I double click on this and make them hidden, what's going to happen is everything is going to be hidden, this whole line, and that's not what I want. Okay, so we're gonna undo that. If you ever make a mistake, there's this button called Control Z. So Control Z or Control Z again. There we go. So instead of extending it, we're going to make them separate lines. Go back to your line drawing tool, right click on this point, and this time this is a separate line. We want to go to the right, so point relative 1, that was in there from before. And I want to go up to the top here, and I'm going to try snapping to this line. Sometimes, because there's a point here and a point here, it'll snap to the line. So right click, there we go, perfect. Do the exact same except with negative to the left side. So right click, snap, point relative, -1, enter, Move it up, right click, enter. Now those lines are separate lines, so you can see I can move those away. Now that's critical, Control Z to put it back, because when I double click on them, this box that shows up is asking me, well, what do you want that line to be? And I want it to be hidden, so I'm going to select hidden. I don't know the scale right now, so I'm just going to click over here and see what it gives me. Does that look like your drawing? No. So let's change the scale by double clicking on it. Let's change the scale. Let's try 1. Does that look like your drawing? That almost looks bang on. The scale of 1. Do the same over here. Scale of 1. And click. And didn't happen. Oh, do you know why? Because I didn't change this to hidden. And there we go. I'm going to close this window. It's taking up space. And fit to screen. Fit to window. There you have it. There's one more part here before dimensioning, and that is there is a support here, another rail. So what we're going to do is parallel this rail down here. Now I'm looking at your drawing, and it doesn't give you a dimension for that. So since I'm the teacher, I get to make one up. Let's put it 10 inches down. Get that parallel tool. Type in 10 for your distance. Select this, 10 inches down. I'm just going to write that down here. 10 inches. That looks about right. And we're going to take and draw 1 1/4 inches down. We're going to parallel that 1 1/4 inches down. So select that again. And type in 1.25, so 1 1/4. Go over here, left click, pull that down. Great. And then we're going to parallel this up 3/4 inch. That's just to indicate our shelf. That will actually be a hidden line. So 0.75. Parallel that up. That does not look right at all. Oh, because it's not. It's 1/2 inch. So if something doesn't look right, this is on a 1-to-1 scale. If it doesn't look right, it's probably not. 0.5 for 1/2 inch, or 1 divided by 2. So you can go up or down. You want to go up and left click. Now, these lines are also not long enough. They go out here 1 inch as well, the same as the top. So this one goes out 1 inch, this one goes out 1 inch, and this one should go at 1/2 inch. So let's zoom into there. Get your line. No, we don't want to line extend it because these are going to be hidden. The top and the bottom ones, we're going to draw separate lines. So right click, point relative, -1 is in there already, 0 on the Y, press enter. And I'm going to draw this as a single line. So if I right click here, let's see what happens. Yep, it lines it up nicely, and right click, enter. Do the exact same thing on the opposite side. Right click, point relative, 1, enter, down, right click, enter. Now when I go ahead and I double click on this, I can change that to hidden with a line scale of 1, okay, because it is behind the leg. So hidden and a line scale of 1. Now this line here also comes out, but this whole line is hidden, so I can just extend this line. So what I did previously, I'm going to right click on this point, and instead of going the whole inch, I'm only going to go 1/2 inch. So point relative, -0.5, -1/2 inch. Always checking that this is on last point. Press OK. There you go. We're going to do the same on this side. Right click, point relative, 0.5 because we're going to the right. And this whole line is hidden. I'm wondering why this isn't showing up. Did I not extend that? That's a separate line. Let's try that again. I must have not used the extend tool. So let's get that extend tool, right click, point relative, 0.5. Now, is it the same? I must have not selected the right tool. So make sure you're using the line extend tool. Double click on this. This will show up. Change it to hidden. Change the line scale to 1. Enter. And that's the hidden line, indicating that you can't actually see it. It's behind the board. And the last thing we want to do is we want to draw a line up here and up here. And that's a 1/2 inch in. So we need to make a reference point for this. We can't parallel this in, because if we parallel it in, I'll show you what happens. Let's parallel it 1/2 inch. See, it parallels the whole line that we drew. So we're going to press escape and get out of there. We have to draw this as a separate line. Get your ortho line drawing tool. Right click on this point. We're going to go in 1/2 inch, so point relative, 0.5 is already in the window. And this time we're going to go up. Left click, because we just want a referencing point. We're going to delete this line. We just want a referencing point. So we're going to right click and right click after we have the referencing point. Then we can take and delete this with the delete key on your keyboard. Do the exact same thing on this side. You can do it here, point relative, 0.5 is in the window. Put that cursor up, left click, and enter. And get your line drawing tool, your ortho line drawing tool. Right click and right click. Click on this line and press the delete key. Now you can double click on this line, change it to hidden, line scale of 1, do the exact same for this side. Let's zoom out and see what we have. Fit to window. There you have it. We have the completed end table without dimensions. Congratulations.